Now inside the appointment service interface, we want to add two methods which will retrieve all of the doctors and all of the patient. So these will be public method which will retrieve a list of, we have the doctor view model. So we'll press that and control dot to include the using statement, that is the return type. Now what will we call this method? We can call this as get doctor list, and we'll copy this and paste that one more time for get patient list. That will return patient view model. So this looks great. Let me save this and go to appointment service. If we hover on the squiggly lines, we need to implement the interfaces. So we need to have the implementation for both the methods that are there inside the interface. So here we will be accessing application DB context. If you want, what you could have done is rather than adding methods here, directly inside the appointment controller, you can access DB context. But it's always good to separate out the concerns. So all of the database operations will be done inside the appointment service, and then appointment controller will be clean because it will just call the appointment service whenever it has to perform any operation. So that way you are organizing and making your code much cleaner. So now how will we implement the get doctors list first? We will be using our database. So for that we need to have application DB context, and we will have to inject that using dependency injection. So let me do that first. Perfect, so we have our underscore DB that we can use to access the database. Now we need to access all of the users. If we switch back to our database table, and if we examine our database for appointment scheduler tables, you can see the table name here is ASP.NET users. How can we retrieve all of the list of users inside the ASP.NET users? Then we will have to join that to the ASP.NET roles table using ASP.NET user roles as an intermediate table to get only those users whose roles are doctor. That way we will be able to retrieve all of the doctors. How do we access this users, ASP.NET roles and ASP.NET user roles table? Since these are included inside identity, we can access them directly. So let me say variable doctors is equal to, and if we go back, the name of the table inside the underscore DB will be everything after ASP.NET. So ASP.NET is the prefix. If you want to access ASP.NET user roles, the name will be user roles. For ASP.NET users, the name will be users. So right here we will be using link and we will be using query syntax. You can always use method syntax, but query syntax is much more descriptive when you are joining multiple tables. So we will say from, and then we can give a random name. You can call this U, or since we know we are going in the user table, I will call this user. In, and then we have to give the table name inside underscore DB. So inside underscore DB, if you see, we have the users table. That is the same table as ASP.NET users because we don't use the prefix ASP.NET. So right here we are accessing all of the users in our db.users table. What we want to do is we want to use projection because we do not want to retrieve all of the columns here. We only want to populate a list of doctor view model. So right now let's not worry about the roles. Let's just retrieve all of the users and assign their ID and name inside the doctor view model. How do we do that? So right here where we have from users in underscore db.users, what we want to select? We want to select new doctor view model. This is known as projection because we are not retrieving everything, we are retrieving only certain columns. We want to populate the ID, and in order to access the ID of users, we have our local variable that we created with the name of user, And in there you have all of the columns inside the ASP.NET Users table. We just want to assign ID, and name is equal to user.name. Then we'll just convert this to a list and we will return back. So think about what we are doing right here. We are going to the database, to the users table, we are iterating through each one of them, and we are selecting only ID and name, and we are creating a new doctor view model. So for each record of users, it will have a doctor view model which will have ID and name. We are not right now specifying that retrieve only doctors. Right now it will retrieve all of the users. To make sure the error goes away, let's return back the doctors. Let's continue to improve this in the next video.